Happy Saturday. I know it's nice and bright and early, but we're here to talk all about feet. So I got a really good question about plantar fasciitis and um, why that's such a big problem and why it keeps coming back and the typical solutions that are being sold. What's up, Ben, voice actor? Thank you so much for being here. Um, we're talking about feet, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them on there. Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for being here. Just telling Ben, we're talking about feet. So if you have questions about footwear, foot function, anything like that in regards to plantar fasciitis, any of the other like Achilles issues, bruised heels, anything like that, happy to answer any questions you have. Um, so I wanted to start by talking about foot function and why some of those issues come up so regularly and what the most common solutions are that are sold. And when I say sold, I don't necessarily mean just like sold for profit. What's up, Jason? Um, so the number one thing I see when somebody's dealing with plantar fascial issues is they're told to roll the bottom of their feet. They're trying to get the tissue to relax. They're trying to get adhesions to release. Most of the time, it's a frozen golf ball. Like they tell you to put a golf ball in the freezer and then roll your feet out with it and try to get it to relax. Um, excuse me. And the problem with that solution is it does help with inflammation, right? It helps because it's cold, it reduces blood flow to that area, it pulls some of the old kind of stagnant blood flow away and makes space for fresh nutrient rich blood. So it's not a bad thing. But it very much is a temporary solution. It might help you relieve some tension from your day, but it doesn't necessarily help things for the long term. And the amount of pressure you would have to apply with that lacrosse ball or that golf ball to eliminate or actually break up adhesions in the fascia would not actually help to relieve anything. It would actually probably cause more inflammation than it would, if not potentially damage the tissue. Um, it would take a lot of force. So the other side that is typically sold, and this is actually something that my mom was using for like about 3 years with her plantar fasciitis. She was wearing splints to bed every night to lock her foot into this position with the hopes that that tissue would lengthen under like a basically a splinted position over the course of the night. And the only thing that that ensured was that she woke up with pain every morning. She would get out of bed and be in so much pain that it took her 20 minutes, and she basically would have to get out of the splint and put her shoe on right away in order to make sure that it wasn't making things worse. Sorry, I'm still getting over that cold. I'm still clearing things out, so I apologize if I'm like coughing periodically. Yeah, my water and I got my coffee. So there's a lot of different ways that we can approach plantar fascial issues and foot function. And one of the things, what's up, Aaron? We're talking about plantar fasciitis. So if you have any questions or foot function, ankle function, what's up, Johnny? How are those knees feeling? I saw you were snowboarding the other day. Maybe that was last week. Um, so when you splint your foot like that and you're locked in this position, all of that tissue, yes, some of it is lengthening, but you can't necessarily control what is stretching in that splint. When you're locked in this position, ideally your calf is releasing. Ideally, some of the tension is coming out of that plantar fascia, but ultimately what it does is whatever is most structurally um, unsupported or maybe like the structural integrity of that tissue, whatever tissue there that is not as strong as it could be is stretching. So like if there is, let's call it a weak link in that tissue, that's the part that is going to get the focal point of stress. It's not the tissue that's actually in need of a stretch. Happy to hear that. I mean, doing your cars before you hit the slopes is one of the best possible things you can do. If you don't know about cars, it's a controlled articular rotation. The idea that you are taking your joint through its full free range of motion. With Johnny, we're talking knees. What's up, Mary? Thank you so much for being here. Cars are one of the best possible things you can do to prepare your nervous system and your body for whatever work you're going to be doing. Excuse me. So, all of that is to say, when you're trying to stretch something that is angry, you have to be very gradual with the way that you stretch it because you have to stop at the first sign of stretch. And then you can't just passively stretch something to get it to be better. Once you've gotten the point where you can kind of sense that first note of stretch, you put a little bit of force through that tissue, and that helps to kind of reinforce and tell that tissue to restructure in a way that is more conducive to repair, not just release. So that's kind of why a splint doesn't necessarily work to relieve plantar fasciitis or tissue damage long term, because it doesn't actually reinforce healing. The only thing that really reinforces healing is movement. We just have to do it in a way that allows that tissue to heal, and we're not putting more force through it than it can handle. So why does plantar fascia get angry in the first place? So there's a number of different things that can piss off your plantar fascia. Your plantar fascia is connective tissue that connects the muscles and connective tissue on the bottom of your foot, anchors into that heel, and then becomes part of that Achilles. So it's all kind of a continuous flow of muscle and connective tissue around to become that Achilles, as well as some of the there are some muscles and connective tissue that run parallel to the Achilles and up into your calf. So the thing that actually helped my mom get out of her, like after years of wearing splints, was we started working on releasing her calf. So it was a little bit of gentle soft tissue work, a little bit of isometric training that got her calf to finally let go. And when her calf finally let go, all of a sudden, she doesn't have to wear her shoes all day every day. She started being able to wear flip-flops, um, and even walk around the house barefoot because her muscles are finally relaxing. So that continuous tension on the plantar fascia is what causes that plantar fascial inflammation. So why is there continuous tension on the plantar fascia, right? The continuous tension on the plantar fascia can come from the way that our body is positioned for the majority of our day. So if you are living in your forefoot, if you are constantly pressing into the front of your feet and you're relying on your calves and the muscles of your feet to hold you up, you are likely to already have that stuff under tension. Then if you try to go be active on it, jump on it, run on it, lift on it, or even just like walk for massive long periods of time, and that tissue is already angry, you are going to then take tissue that's pissed off and make it angrier. So footwear can reinforce that. Movement patterns can reinforce that. All of that continuous force through your forefoot and your calf can reinforce the problem, which then pisses off your plantar fascia even more. Obviously, this is an oversimplification. I'm trying to communicate it in a way that is I'm not a physician. I'm not I'm not a physical therapist. I am a personal trainer who spent a lot of time working on feet and a lot of time working with people who have this problem and have seen this problem go away with a varying different types of solutions. So let's specifically talk about footwear because I brought a bunch of different shoes with me to kind of bring those up. What's up, Mark? Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about plantar fascia and feet. If feet aren't your thing, I mean, not everybody's got feet, but a lot of people have feet. Most people have feet. Um, so I brought a bunch of different types of footwear with me down here to talk about this. Okay, so I've got my beloved Vivo barefoot shoes. I've got the Brooks that I actually wear like 90-ish% of the time through my day. I've got one of my wife's wedge boots, some sandals that I tried out while I was in the Philippines, and Crocs. Crocs are going to sit in for, I mean, a lot of people wear Crocs. A lot of people love Crocs, but then don't necessarily recognize the impact that they have on their feet. So let's start with one of the most common shoes. Let's start with the Croc. So when you wear Crocs, or let's say slides, anything where your foot is not secure in the shoe. When I say secure, I mean laced up, snugged up, essentially attached to the shoe. Your foot is inevitably going to be doing one thing to hold on to the shoe and keep it from sliding away. You're going to do this. You're going to anchor with your big toe every time you stride to keep the shoe from just going and coming flying off. What that does is it shortens this tissue here. And what ends up happening is if you've ever done, like imagine you're flexing your arm and your kid jumps and grabs onto your arm as hard as they can, right? You're trying to hold them up, but this tissue has to hang on for dear life. The connective tissue, the muscles have to hang on and they're going to tense like this. Imagine now your kid does that 10,000 times. 10,000 times is a lot, but over the course of your day, you might say we're taking 10,000 steps. That's 10,000 opportunities for your foot to catch the shoe as you're trying to walk. And little by little, that muscle begins to fatigue. And your nervous system is not sitting there consciously contracting that over and over again. Your connective tissue is responding before your nervous system even can. So 10,000 times over the course of your day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that is a lot of steps. That is a lot of time that your foot is trying to catch that shoe. That's assuming, of course, that you're taking 10,000 steps through that shoe. So that in and of itself can end up with an accumulation of tension right here. Now, if you sit there and try to soft tissue it away, you might see some relief for a period of time. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are getting relief of that problem. That just means that for the time being, it's not as angry as it was. So one way to help that is obviously the Croc strap helps a bit because it anchors the shoe to you a little bit more. And as somebody who's incredibly foot aware, I actually wore these Crocs almost every day when I was in the Philippines, walking around for a month. And you can see I put some wear through the shoe. These are pretty smooth now because I walked in them so much. What we want to look for is wear through here and wear through big toe, because that means I'm striding through the entirety of what my foot has to offer. Wearing the strap made a big difference. I still did my mobility work 90% of the time I was there to kind of set myself back in the movement pattern that I know is most effective for me and reducing the tension that I experience. But that's where a shoe like this can contribute to plantar fascial issues. The next one is my beloved barefoot shoe, my Vivos. Now, if you look at where this shoe wears out, it's pretty obvious what the shoe is supposed to look like, the parts of the shoe that are not seeing any wear at all, and the part of the shoe that saw the most wear, right there. So for me, when I wear my barefoot shoes, what that does to my stride is it shortens it significantly. It puts, I'm striding through, you can see here, my heel, but so much of that force is going through right there in the middle of my forefoot. What's up? Abinati Athletics, thank you so much for being here. I hope I pronounced that right. Um, so this shoe is worn out because when I stride, my strike is right here. And when I pass through my forefoot, I am not actually hitting my big toe. There's very little wear on my big toe. It's almost all forefoot and then pinky toes. My foot inherently does this every time I'm coming off the ground. Does that mean that my barefoot shoes are a problem? They could. Cynthia, thank you so much for coming, for stopping by, saying hi. If you've got any problems with your feet, please feel free to ask a question in the comments. I'm happy to try to get that answered for you. So while I do still really love my barefoot shoes, they do contribute to more tension in my feet because ultimately, to account for the fact that there is no support, no cushioning, my body has to tense my foot more and preload through my forefoot. So I have to shock absorb more with my foot in order to reduce how much tension there is on the rest of my system. Excelsior Bodywork, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot of great answers for um, feet. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to get them answered. We're talking about right now how footwear contributes to plantar fascial issues and just total systemic tension. So while I do still wear my barefoot shoes, I don't wear them as much as I used to. And I do know that I have to do more to downregulate my system after wearing these than I would in a different pair of shoes, which I'll get to. I'm going to get to those last, and how a running shoe has massively helped my mobility. Um, the next one is this, which is a Chaco. I actually don't know the name of the model. Oh, this says the Chaco Cloud. So I decided to try these before I went to the Philippines to see how it would feel to wear sandals since transitioning from doing more like structural mobility work and more isolated mobility work on my feet to things that kind of put me in a better body position overall. So these almost feel like a running shoe. You can see there's a pretty decent heel to toe drop. There's a pretty decent heel cup, and then these straps are going to anchor me to my foot. So while the Croc introduces the problem of a loose shoe sliding around, and so my big toe has to hang on to it, the barefoot shoe anchors my foot in the shoe, like it's attached to me, but it doesn't have any cushioning, which is the intent, it's the design. But it also introduces the idea that because there is no cushioning, my body has to prepare itself and hang on to more tension while I'm walking. I rely more on the structure of my foot, both bony and connective tissue, to reduce the shock of walking on hard concrete. That does tense your body more. So you will have to do more to downregulate your system after a day of walking in these than you might even after a day of walking in these. Arguably less tension, more tension. This introduces the solution of attaching you to the sole, which is great because now you don't have to hang on for dear life while wearing this sandal. Is your heel as anchored as it could be? No, but you will find less tension in your feet wearing something like this than you will a Croc or a barefoot shoe or a slide, a flip-flop. Flip-flops are really tough on your feet. Aman, good to see you, bud. It's been a really long time. I hope firefighting's treating you well. We're talking feet, so if you have any questions, I'm talking all through the different footwear. I've gone through so many different phases of wearing different types of shoes. So um, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm happy to try to get them answered for you. Um, so something that anchors you to your shoe is great. I actually forgot my Vans, so I'm going to use the barefoot shoe as a stand-in for the Van. Um, so if you're wearing skate shoes all the time, Converse skate shoes, again, they're not. It's not a bad solution. It's actually a great solution. Um, they're not the best walking shoe in the world. If you're going to be walking around all the time, you still might run into plantar fascial issues. While you have more padding than this, it's still, they're made to be skated in. They are a tool for skateboarding. So you feel the board, you feel, or in my case, BMX, the pedal, and you're able to do the tricks that we want to do. They grip the pedal really well. But as far as walking around in all day, it's still a very flat thing, and it doesn't facilitate natural gait as much as something like a running shoe does. And I know that sounds insane. Reg Sim 67, Reg Sim 67, thank you so much for being here. Richard, thank you for being here. We're talking about feet, all things feet. So before I get to the running shoe, and I forgot my basketball shoes, I would bring those down too. I forgot those. We're going to talk about, obviously, this is not my shoe. We're talking about wedge, heel, like where a huge percentage of fashion can piss off your feet more than anything in the world. You are stuck. This is your foot on heels. You are stuck in your forefoot. You have no chance of using the function of your foot at all because now you have locked your foot into a rigid structure that relies solely on the front of your foot. So even though your calf, imagine this is my calf. Actually, I guess I could stand up to do this. So imagine you're walking around like this all day. Your calves are shortened, they're contracted, and you have to shock absorb through your forefoot. But now you've also reduced your body's ability to compress through the calf and lower through the calf. So now not only are we trying to walk on your forefoot, the only thing that gets to hold on are the bony structures of your foot and your connective tissue. So, excuse me, we're back to plantar fasciitis. We're back to plantar fascia. The only thing that gets to hold on is the connective tissue on the bottom of your foot. And where do you think the focal point of that stress is going to go? It's right through here, right? Because I'm like this, but then I'm also pulling like this. So not only am I pulling the heel as far from the big toe as I can, right? And now I'm asking this stuff to hang on and support me all day, every day. At the end of your day, like if you have to wear heels, I understand. Like, I mean, I don't understand, but I understand like if that's the stylistic requirement for your office, a formal thing, or you just really like wearing them, understand that this structure, your foot is not made to walk like this. It's just not. So when you walk like that all day long, you need to be doing something to downregulate your system in order to get that stuff to relax at the end of the day. If you never downregulate your system after wearing any of this footwear, any of it, it doesn't matter what it is, your day costs you energy. The things you do all day cost you energy, and your body is paying that where it can, and you're going to accumulate focal points of stress. Any shoe. You have to be able to take your system and go, hey, it's okay. We're done with that part of our day. We're tuning that down. Otherwise, the focal points of stress will continue to accumulate that force over and over and over and over again. And you end up paying that price regardless, whether it ends up in your foot or further up your system. Knee pain, hip pain, low back, neck. You would be so surprised by how much foot tension, when you get that to relax, your neck can relax. I'm getting hyped now. Okay, so wearing running shoes, if you are going to be walking around all day, you can do some pretty amazing things. And the wrong running shoe still can cause problems. It still can. So this is a shoe I wear a lot of my day. Like I would say close to 85% of my active day, I am wearing this shoe, if not more than that. Um, Even sometimes when I'm lifting, I will wear these shoes. So the reason that a shoe like this works really well and can reduce plantar fascial issues when paired with specific work is there's a really nice solid heel cup. It suctions your heel and holds it securely at the back of the shoe. So in that way, your shoe and your foot have an opportunity to work together so that neither is doing more work for you than the other. You're not hanging on for dear life because your foot feels secure in the shoe. Now, there's a lot of people who will say, and I mean, I will say, honestly, 100%, I used to be this guy. I used to tell you that these shoes are ruining your feet. I used to say that all the time. You should only be wearing these. These shoes are ruining your feet. I've learned. And I don't think that that's entirely like I still love my barefoot shoes. I still wear them sometimes, but I don't wear them as often as I used to because I've learned more about how to manage load over the course of your day and life to make sure that I'm not pissing off my system any more than I need to. I'm already challenging myself all the time. Lifting, running, playing with my kids, doing BMX. I'm already doing so much to challenge my system that having something like this with padding, with a secure heel cup, not too much flexibility. My big toe and my toe box can work really well, but I'm not relying so much on my foot to hold on for dear life. It costs less for me to walk around over the course of my day wearing this than it does wearing other shoes. It costs less systemically. My whole body's holding on to less tension, and it costs less from a tissue specific perspective. I am not asking my foot to do everything all day, every day, because no part of your body is an island. Nothing functions on its own. You put a bunch of work through your hands, guess what? There's tension in your forearms, there's tension in your upper arm, there's tension in your shoulder, there's tension in your rib cage. If you're standing like, or excuse me, but like living with a clenched fist all day, every day, you don't think the rest of your body is going, oh God, what's happening? Because there's a systemic input to your body being tense all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, foot function, being able to wiggle each individual toe is important. Like you being able to do that, if you're stuck in this all day every day and I ask you to move your toes, you probably can't. And if you're living in a running shoe all day every day, you know, you're probably not going to be able to wiggle your toes either. So a barefoot shoe in the gym or in a slightly softer environment can be great because it gives you an opportunity to explore and embrace the actual natural design of your foot. But if you expect your body to stay calm and relaxed when you are asking your feet to stay tense all the time and be prepared all the time, you are going to hold on to more tension in your body than you otherwise would. And with everything that's happening right now, in life, I mean, just if you just account for normal life stresses, you're holding on to tension anyway. So there's a couple different interventions that I use for people beyond footwear. Footwear is important, but that's kind of where that discussion is going to end. You can wear basketball shoes. Basketball shoes are really, really great at um, basketball design, and standing. Those are two things that basketball is really good for. Walking is not always like if you walk all day in basketball shoes, it's expensive in different ways. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot to me. Okay, so when we talk about foot function, I'm going to slide back. Hopefully, you can see my foot. So, a couple different things you can do to release tension in your foot. Number one is actively trying to teach your body to move the toes individually. This is not an advertisement for my OnlyFans, BT dubs, right? Okay. Oh, you can't see my toes anymore. Big toe, other guys, big toe, other guys. Being able to do that can actually help to reduce some of the tension in your foot. Number one, that works really well. You can stretch through the big toe. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at both my computer and the phone. So this is my yoga block, my improvised yoga block. So you can gently stretch through the big toe or through the other toes, and the further into dorsiflexion, so the knee going over the toe, you go, the more tension there's going to be through the bottom of your foot and into your Achilles. So if you're somebody who just needs a temporary release and we want to strength train the bottom of your foot, getting into a stretch, hanging out for a full 2 minutes. I know it feels like forever, but this is how your tissue responds to force. Hang out for a full 2 minutes, gently squeeze the tissue, gently try to push down through your toes, squeezing through that foot, and then trying to pull your big toes up, or your toes, excuse me, up. And like we're going to strength train the top of the foot in that case. So then we got top of the foot, bottom of the foot, releasing tension and training that tissue. That's another way of training the Achilles. So I'll give you another temporary release thing. These are band-aids when things are angry. So there's something where you can take the top of your foot. Let's see, this is going to be hard to do while I'm here. I'm going to tilt computer down and phone down. Okay, so you can take your thumb and you can drag between the bones of the foot, 10 strokes between each one, and you'll find there's tension points in the top of your foot, even more so than the bottom of your foot. Like the bottom of your foot is going to be tense, but think about how much love you give to the top of your foot. So if you try that, you'll find that that actually relaxes your foot a lot, even more so than here and doing stuff like this. This is great and all, but like getting the stuff to stop pulling up here is a really nice way of getting things to relax a little bit. You can then do stuff like this, mobilize your forefoot, just get things moving, right? Giving some love to that area that doesn't get a lot of it, but takes most of the force that we experience in our day helps so much. Things just relax. So things like that, this is stuff I'll do with clients. I'll teach them to do, especially if they're living all day in heels, in shoes that are like constricting and crushing your toes. I would not recommend that. But you know, you got to do what you got to do, and style is style, and style is not function. Like just because a shoe looks good doesn't mean it's good for your feet. And just because it's good for your feet, I mean, a lot of shoes that are good for your feet, they don't function particularly well, but they look ridiculous. One of my favorite things that I've experienced with Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec was he pulls out a pair of the Vibram five finger shoes. Emily, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions about feet, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Um, I'm answering all things about foot function, and we're doing some Band-Aid stuff, some active release things for our feet. So getting your toes to splay. Oh, sorry, go back to the Parks and Rec reference. Um, he holds up the shoes because he's shining all of Rob Lowe's shoes. Holds up the five finger shoes and he goes, "You know who should wear these? Monkeys." Puts it on and does this down the hall. Still, every time I think about that, that kills me. Um, so that, like mobilizing your forefoot, stretching out the toes, toe spreaders can actually be really great. There's another tool that I don't have with me. Um, Dr. Loke Rao talks about it a lot. It's not something I've explored yet. It's something I think it's called the foot doc that I'm curious to try. It's all about like strengthening the specific tissues of your feet. Okay, so this is the one that is most nuanced but has the biggest reward. It's the way that you are standing for a larger percentage of your day. If you stand, and I've talked about this in a lot of different posts, and this is where posture really does matter. If you stand with your toes turned out, your knees locked, your pelvis rocked forward, sense where, if you stand up and try this now, sense where that weight goes. Even if your toes aren't turned out, sense where the weight goes when your knees are locked. If you stand with locked knees, the weight is going into your forefoot. Your forefoot has to hang on to keep you from doing this. Where is that tension going? Whenever I lay down on the for a while or sit on the couch for a while, I get the same foot pain. Johnny, when you're laying on the couch, what position is your foot in? Are you laying on the couch with your feet like this? Are your feet kind of pointed? Are you turned out like this? Like, what kind of position are you in when you get that foot pain? All right, so while we're waiting for Johnny to answer that, we are going to go back to the posture thing. When you stand with your weight in your heels, when you exhale and relax, and you're standing with the weight in your heels, it is far easier to feel the tension in your feet melt away. And there's an exercise I use with clients, and I've posted about this regularly. Joggin, thank you for being here. Nice to see you. We're talking about posture and the impact it has on feet. I'll post the recording later because we've talked all about shoes and temporary solutions and why some work and why some don't. So there's an exercise I use with my clients to teach them to go backwards. And what I mean by go backwards is like being able to pull rib cage back, being able to tilt the pelvis a little bit, and naturally get the weight in your heels. When you can do that, your whole system feels more solid and secure through your heel. When you can feel your heels safely without your toes hanging on for dear life, your system, as you exhale, allows that tension to kind of melt away. The other side of that is like we are naturally built to be on one side of our body more so than the other. There's a lot of things that contribute to that between movement patterns and some of the internal things like leverage of our diaphragm. This is newer stuff that I've learned and tested with clients and implemented and have seen massive impacts. So when I teach my clients about this movement patterns, the right heel, the right foot is usually the one with the plantar fascial issues because that's the one doing most of the work. So when I teach them this drill, which we're gonna do together, when I teach them this drill, they notice this is something that happened just yesterday with a client. Something where she's wearing the right shoes, she's got, prescribed orthotics and all these different things that are meant to support her feet. She's still, when she walks a ton and stands, she's still in her forefoot a lot. She's still locking her knees. And so we're working on those things. But after doing this drill, she literally feels that spot, that same plantar fascia spot right here, and then up through her Achilles and into her calf, just let go. She's like, it's so weird. It feels like magic. I don't know what kind of voodoo you're doing. This is a direct quote. I don't know what kind of voodoo you're doing, but it works. So if you're still with me, I want you to try. If you've got a wall nearby, I want you to try this, okay? So hopefully, I've not tried it on this closet. I'm not going to ruin my dad's Charles Dickens things. I think we'll go this way onto the door. Pivoting computer and phone. Okay. So with something between your knees, we're going to use a crock because that's what I've got with me right now. You're going to rest your low back against the wall. You're going to stand with your weight in your heels. You're going to bend your knees and tuck your pelvis. So let me make sure that you can see this on the live too. Okay. So pull your rib cage back and into the door. Okay. With your weight in your heels, your pelvis tucked, your rib cage back into the door. You're going to reach your hands, not aggressively, but far enough forward that you round through your upper back gently. Okay. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out. Get as empty as you can doing this. When you breathe in slowly, gradually. Sense the stretch in your rib cage. That's where I want you to feel this. Resist the urge to get taller as you breathe in. Don't do this. Breathe back into the door. One more time. Now, as you stand, try to find your heels. Try to find left heel. Try to find right heel. Which side feels more comfortable? Which side feels more natural? I'm willing to bet most of the time it's going to be your right. But as you stand and relax into this, you're going to notice two things. Number one, your weight's in your heels. You're not hanging on for dear life. Your feet are relaxed. And then the other side of it is that when you take a breath, you're going to notice that inhale is bigger. It's more relaxed. It's easier. And when you can breathe more easily, your body's not hanging on for dear life anymore. Your body's going, oh, this is cool. And I mean, we've talked so much about why this actually contributes to foot function. Ross, thank you for being here. We're talking about feet. And then, not like OnlyFans feet, but like only function feet. That's my new OF, only function. I know, I'm a dork, but I'm okay with it. Awesome. Jody, feel free to drop me a DM. I'm happy to send you some resources and stuff so that you can so I can get you some relief on those feet ASAP. Um, so when your whole system gets to relax, everything down to your feet lets go. Then the load bearing capacity of your system is higher because you're not already tense. What I mean by load bearing capacity is like you can do more, whether it's in the gym, carrying your kids, wearing backpacks, walking around, doing things all day, like being active, because you're not already carrying the weight of your body. I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, what I mean by the weight of your body is you're not like so tense that you're working against yourself all day. Your body is able to move more naturally and freely because you're not just like all day long. Um, so like in the imagine going back to the bicep curl reference. If you walk all day carrying around a 10-pound weight, and then I'm like, all right, we're going to the gym and we're going to do bicep curls. How much more do you think you could do if you've already been holding this all day long? How much running do you think you can do if you've been tense through your feet all day long? How much impact and force can you hold on to? Like if I'm doing this and my kid jumps on my arm, that's a lot of force going down through my arm that I was already hanging on to things. So that's part of how that plantar fascia gets so pissed off because your connective tissue, and I said this at the very, very beginning, but your connective tissue is the first thing to respond before your brain even recognizes that there's force. So your muscles are shock absorbers, right? And force production, but like shock absorbers. So when you jump or run, your muscle has to absorb that force. But what do you think is telling that muscle that there's force coming, right? Your brain isn't going, oh, there's an impact coming. Your connective tissue is going, ah. And that connective tissue, if it's not strong or it's already tight and tense and hanging on for dear life, that connective tissue is going to get pissed. It's going to be so angry. It's going to hurt like crazy because it's already hanging on for dear life. It's already doing the most. And it doesn't have much more capacity to go. So systemically, if you can tune down that tension and then train up your feet, then you start to basically, if you imagine tuning down your systemic tension is like budgeting, cutting your spending as much as physically possible, right? So your output of money is as low as it can possibly be. Then you start training the tissue. You're training that tissue is putting deposits into a bank account that already has less going out of it than it did before, right? So now the capacity for expenditure is higher when you need to spend it. When you are going to spend strategically, you have an opportunity to then you have reserves. You are stronger than you need to be for the task that you're trying to do. What's up, Sean? Thank you so much for being here. We're talking feet and systemic tension. So you've got a bigger bank account. You're spending less on a daily basis, and you have more to spend when you want to spend it. So all of that takes the capacity of the plantar fascia and the musculature of your feet and makes it so that every single thing you do is not as expensive to your body. So that's where you can kind of combine the two different approaches of both tuning down, doing our breath work on the wall, taking that time to down regulate your system so it's not hanging on for dear life, giving yourself an environment that makes parts of your day less expensive. Right? This is my reducing expenditures shoe, right? This is my I want to put everything I have that I'm going to make some big purchases. So I'm going to go lift. I'm going to do my deadlifts, I'm going to do my squats, I'm going to do my leg press, all that stuff. I might wear my Vivos for that. Or I'm going to go on a big hike or a big run. You know, a run, you might still wear the running shoe, but that's when I'm going to go spend the most that I can. Um, and then if I'm wearing the Crocs or slides or something like that, just if I can give you one thing to not do, just don't go for really long walks in slides and flip-flops. It's talk about expensive for no reason. That's like putting premium and flooring it everywhere you go when you're in stop and go traffic. Expensive as hell. You're going to burn through it as fast as possible. Like the connective tissue in your feet are just not going to be happy with you. All right. If there's any questions, now's a great time. I know I've been talking, according to my monologue clock, I've been talking for 49 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to talk more in the DMs, I'm happy to answer any of your questions. If you're not already a member of the school community, um, all of the modules and stuff in our school community, are intended to downregulate your system, retrain and reposition your system so that you can do more. You can play with your kids more, you can lift more, you can run more and do more when you need to spend the energy and you're not spending so much energy living. There's joint by joint training. There's so like, you know, specific ranges of motion for like shoulders and hips and low back. Excuse me. Sorry, still getting over that cold. Um, there's modules that are general mobility classes. So these are things that are going to be high payoff, quickly tuning your system down. Bob, thank you for being here. We're wrapping up a little bit, but we've been talking about feet. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I've got a session to get to at 9 o'clock, but I'm happy to answer them if I can. And if not, I will DM you with any resources I have. Um, if you're interested in the recording, please feel free to shoot me a DM and I'll send it to you. Because we've been talking for about an hour about feet. Um, so the platform, it's free. It's a free platform that I'm trying to give as many of the resources as I can that I use with my clients on a regular daily basis without overwhelming anyone. Because I mean, we're all busy. We don't have that much time to ourselves, but I really want to give you everything that I possibly can so that you can start feeling better right away. You can start doing the things that you want to do right away. So the structure of the school community is intro stuff. So stand up for truth. Thank you for being here. If you've got any questions about feet, feel free to drop them in the comments. We're wrapping up in the next couple minutes, but I'm happy to try to get them answered for you. So the there's an intro so that you understand the language of what we're talking about. There, it's a very practical intro, like you are moving through these things. It's just understanding. So like you have, I'm not talking about a concept that you're just like, I have no clue what's happening right now. Then there are general mobility classes, quick payoff, short classes as short as 7 minutes. The longest class in there is 20. And that's like that's a hard training session for mobility. Then there are specific modules around specific problems. So there's tight low back, tight shoulder, and tight hips. I'm going to be adding feet, ankles, knees, wrists, elbows, neck. All of that stuff is going to be added little by little. And then, so within those modules, there's an explanation for why those things happen. And then there is an intervention that I use most commonly with my clients. And then there's a actual follow along workout that you can do around that problem. So exercises that I use that when paired with mobility work don't cause problems for my clients. So like if you've ever hurt your back doing an RDL, sorry, if you've ever pissed off your back doing a Romanian deadlift, it's probably for a number of different reasons, but some of it could be what we've talked about today. You're just hanging on to too much tension in your system. And so being able to downregulate your system and then try it. Like again, I had the same client who talked about the issue with her feet. She goes, we've been doing deadlifts for a while. And after we did that breath work, everything got easier. Like I don't understand again the magic that you're doing, but she's like the deadlifts, even though we're doing the exact same weight, I feel it more in the exact place you want me to, and I don't have to try for it. So this is the other side of things that mobility work does is it makes the other work that we're doing easier because you're not sitting there having to try to force your body into a position to do the thing. Your body just goes, oh, we're bending over. I know where to put the weight. I'm going to put it in my glutes. I'm going to put it in my hamstrings instead of putting it in my low back and my calves and my knees. And then your whole system doesn't have to try so hard. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody who stuck around, everybody who asked questions, I appreciate you a lot. If 8 o'clock is too early on Saturday mornings, I mean, I'm in Chicago, so like 8 a.m. Central Time. If that's too early on Saturday mornings, drop me a comment when I post this recording and let me know what time would work better for you because I'm happy to make this work for you. If you're in the school community, respond on the post of this recording and let me know a time that works better for you. I'm happy to shift it around. I just know that because I'm typically talking to parents. Our time is short, and like most of our free time happens before the kids wake up, and I'm up at like 4:30 in the morning, so like I'm up super early. Um, but if this is something that you enjoyed and you got a lot out of, please share this with a friend. Let me know what time would work better for you. I'm happy to move things around and try to make this as effective as possible. So, for those of you who stuck around, I appreciate you so much. I tell all of my clients this. I genuinely, I love what I do. I would do this for free. I mean, I right now on Instagram, I am doing this for free. Um, like I would do my job for free if I wasn't required to support my family. Um, I love this stuff so much, and I want you to not have to go through everything I went through to learn it, because I've done all of the injuries, I've done all the continuing education, and there's still so much to learn. Um, I'm excited to share it with you as I learn it. All right. Thank you so much. Take care.